Finally, Bethesda have said brand new ways of travelling are coming to Starfield. This was announced as a part of a developer update that Bethesda posted to Reddit. It also included information, well, a reminder really, that city maps are on the way, as is mod support. All of this coming in 2024. Now, one of the other big points here is that Bethesda have said that they're going to issue regular patches now. They expect these to be issued roughly every 6 weeks. There's also potential for other smaller patches, smaller hotfixes to come in between these larger patches. So it seems all of this ties into what Bethesda discussed a little while ago, where they confirmed that 250 developers are still working on Starfield. And I'm sure not all of them are working on just these small little hotfix patches. That said, we do know there's 2 major updates next year at the very least. One will be the release of the Curation Kit, enabling full support for modding, and the other is the DLC called Shattered Space. Seems to me quite obvious that most of these 200 developers will be working on these 2 different projects. But that said, a brand new patch every 6 weeks has a potential to deliver quite a bit of new content to the game overall. One of these then is the new ways to travel. What can this mean? Well, it's very vague, a little bit too vague in my opinion, and it really allows for people to go out there and start hyping things up and letting their imaginations run wild. Really, that's probably not the best direction to go in, not the smartest move. A new ways to travel, so plural, new ways to travel, but again, that could be interpreted in multiple ways. So this could be something just as simple as new types of jetpacks. Jetpacks that allow you to stay up in the sky far longer, maybe even allow you to effectively fly to all intents and purposes. So yeah, that would be a new way to travel, and if there's multiple jetpacks that allow you to do this, it would be a new ways to travel. But if we were going to speculate a little bit further here and try and push the boundaries out a bit, it's possible that they're talking about vehicles of some type, although I'm not going to hold my breath on that count. These could be ground vehicles. The problem here is that most of what we see on the ground doesn't support that idea. There's a hell of a lot of rocks everywhere, so wheeled vehicles would really struggle to navigate most of the terrain. And from what we've seen, hover-type vehicles really don't seem to exist in the realms of Starfield. That's not something that we've seen anywhere. There's no really notion to actually support that type of technology, at least as far as we can see. So yeah, I could be very wrong on this, but I'm not expecting these new ways of travel is actually going to be vehicles. Well, at least not ground vehicles. It's possible they could be some sort of air vehicle, but the problem there is they allow players to travel across the maps way faster, and this means they would encounter the problem of just not enough points of interest, and of course those invisible boundaries as well. One thing that we do know exists within the Starfield world though is mechs, so just maybe these are a possibility for these new forms of travel, but again, I think that is probably, stretching things too far. I don't see that happening in a smaller update. So that's 2 potential ideas, new forms of jetpacks or vehicles of some type that we can use on planets. One of these seems more likely than the other. A third thought that comes to me when we think about new ways to travel would be something to do with spaceships. Now, we're clearly not going to be able to get seamless travel from a planetary surface up into space. There's those loading screens to consider, and that seems to be a block within the engine itself, so it's unlikely that is going to change. What may change is the ability to travel across space itself. Now, we know from experimentations, specifically one done by Alana Pierce, where she travelled all the way across a star system towards another planet. Effectively, she proved that there are no boundaries here and that you can travel to another planet. However, when she got there, the planet was just a JPEG. Now, it's possible that new ways to travel could be somehow totally adapting this, allowing players to accelerate their ship up to much higher speeds and to travel across to another planet, meaning that we could travel around star systems under our own control. So yeah, if Bethesda had found a way to actually make the planets be physically present if you travel across space in this manner, for me, this would be an amazing update, as it would really add to, well, the immersion of the space side of the game, making it feel much more like a genuine space game. But again, I'm really cautious with any hype and anticipation and speculation here. These are all just random thoughts, and like I say, big changes to the game, like changing the way spaceships work, seems to be more of a fundamental change rather than something we'd expect to see in a relatively small patch. At any rate, the whole idea of new ways to travel is certainly an interesting prospect, but it's one I think we need to approach with a fair bit of caution. But either way, regardless of how that actually goes, getting brand new patches every 6 weeks or so is a pretty good release cadence, and that should enable Starfield to get some, plenty of fixes, as well as hopefully some improvements to the Foundation and gameplay itself. So that pretty much covers the latest from Bethesda and Starfield. If you have any thoughts on this, what would you like to see in the upcoming updates? Do let me know in the comment section. Meanwhile, why not check out the videos on the screen right here?